Have you ever had a feeling like something's watching you? Not just the regular someone staring at me kind of thing, but something deeper, more primal, the kind of feeling that creeps into your bones, tells you to run even when your brain hasn't figured out why yet. I never used to believe in that kind of thing. My name's Chuck Mortensen. I'm a park ranger, been one for over a decade now. Grew up in Montana, the kind of place where your first birthday present is a pocket knife, and your first real lesson is how to track deer. My old man was the same way, a hunter to the core. The woods will never lie to you, he used to say. You just gotta know how to read them. I thought I knew how to read the woods. Then last winter happened. Me and a few coworkers, Jared, Lisa, and Tom, were driving back from an environmental survey deep in the Pacific Northwest, middle of nowhere, a stretch of road that barely saw traffic. It was winter, but the weather was calm, cold, and still. We had another couple of hours to go before we hit our cabin for the night, when Lisa pointed out we were running low on gas. Lucky for us, a station popped up on the horizon. It was one of those forgotten places, an old half-rotted thing sitting at the edge of the tree line. No big brand name, just gas and supplies, fading off a rusted sign. The kind of station you stop at because you don't have a choice. I pulled in, and the place looked deserted. A single flickering light above the pumps, a small building with a convenience store attached, windows covered in grime. The air was dead still, thick with that weird pre-snow melt. Jared hopped out first, stretching his legs. "Man, this place gives me the creeps," he muttered. Lisa nudged him. "You say that every time we are more than 5 miles from a Starbucks." Tom laughed, but it was forced. None of us liked it here. I went inside to pay, while the others pumped gas. The place was empty, no clerk, no radio playing in the background, just rows of dust-covered snacks and faded hunting magazines stacked on the counter. One of them caught my eye. "The woods are watching. Local hunter recounts encounter with unknown beast." I flipped through it while waiting for someone to show up. It was all standard cryptid nonsense, some guy claiming he saw something huge in the woods, bigger than a bear, walking like a man. Said it stalked him, followed him for miles without a sound. The story ended with him holding up in his cabin, hearing something breathe outside his window all night. I put it back with a snort. Fun reading, but I'd spent years in the wild. I knew what was out there. Or so I thought. I rang the little bell on the counter. No answer. Rang it again. Nothing. I was about to call out when Lisa stepped inside, rubbing her arms. "Hurry up, Chuck. I don't like standing out there alone." I sighed. "No one's here. Just leave some cash on the counter, Will." The front door slammed open. Jared stood there, his face pale. "Guys," he whispered, "there's something in the woods." I stepped outside, scanning the tree line. "What did you see?" He shook his head. "I don't know, just something big. I thought it was a tree at first, but then it moved. It was standing way back behind the pumps, just watching." Lisa laughed, but it was nervous. "A bear, maybe?" Jared shook his head again. "No, too tall." Tom was gripping the gas pump like it was a lifeline. "Let's just go, okay?" I wasn't about to argue. We left cash on the counter, piled into the truck, and pulled out fast. As we passed the tree line, I felt it. That primal fear, that sense of being watched. I caught a glimpse in the side mirror, just for a second. A figure, tall, too tall, and it moved. Not like a man, not like an animal, something in between. I hit the gas hard, and we drove in silence for a long time. Then came the slam. Something hit the roof. The whole truck lurched, the metal groaning like it was about to cave in. Lisa screamed. Tom fumbled for his gun. I swerved, trying to shake whatever was up there. What the hell was that? Another slam, harder this time. The roof dented inward. Jared was shouting something, but all I could hear was my heartbeat pounding in my skull. I veered off the road, hit the gas station's old service road, hoping to knock whatever it was off the roof. The truck hit a bump. The weight shifted. I looked in the mirror just in time to see it slide off the roof and hit the ground. I wish I hadn't looked. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a man. It was something in between. 7 feet tall, maybe more, covered in thick matted hair. Its arms were too long, its legs bent wrong, and its eyes, God, its eyes, they were black. Not like an animal's, not like a person's, just empty. In the way it looked at me, not like I was prey, like I was competition. I floored it. Didn't stop till we reached the cabin. That night, none of us slept. We kept the lights on, took turns standing watch. Every so often I swore I could hear something breathing outside. By morning, we were gone. Didn't bother finishing the job, didn't bother explaining it to our boss. I don't know what we saw that night, I don't want to know. All I know is this. The woods are watching, and sometimes they don't like what they see. You ever feel like the world just shifts around you? Like everything looks the same, but something is off. Like some primal part of your brain is screaming at you to run, but you don't know why. Yeah, I know that feeling now. Never used to believe in any of this crap. Ghosts, monsters, cryptids. Just campfire stories, right? But after what happened last winter, I know better. I was with 2 buddies, Matt and Joel. We were on a road trip through the Pacific Northwest, just taking a break from life. I work at the Seattle Zoo, and those 2 had been my best friends since college. Matt's a paramedic, Joel's a mechanic, and between the 3 of us we figured we were prepared for anything. But nothing prepares you for something you can't understand. It was mid-January, cold as hell, and the sky was that dull gray that never really changes. The kind of day where it feels like the sun's given up. We had been driving through the Cascade Mountains, planning to stop at some roadside diners, maybe hike a bit if the weather held. Then we saw the sign, Scenic Overlook, 2 miles. Joel nudged me. Dude, pull over, stretch our legs. I figured why not, we had time to kill. The overlook was empty when we pulled in. Just a small parking lot with a wooden fence marking the edge of a steep drop-off. Beyond it, the forest stretched for miles, dark and endless. It was quiet, maybe too quiet. No birds, no wind. Even our footsteps on the gravel felt muted. Man, it's dead out here, Matt muttered. Joel walked to the edge, peering down into the trees. It's kinda cool though, feels untouched, you know. I wasn't so sure. Something about the place made my skin crawl. I chalked it up to the cold and tried to ignore it. Then I saw the tracks. They were just off the lot, leading into the trees, massive. Not like a bear or a man. The toes were long, ending in sharp points like claws. Matt frowned. What the hell made those? Joel pulled out his phone, snapping pictures. Probably some kind of a wolf, right? I didn't answer. Something was bothering me about them. The stride was too long. Whatever made those tracks had to be tall. And then I noticed there were no tracks leading out. The thing that made them was still out here, prowling, watching. We weren't alone. Joel laughed nervously. Okay, yeah, this is officially creepy. Let's get moving. None of us argued. We got back in the car and I peeled out of there faster than I meant to. The tire skidded a little on the frost, and for just a second, as I glanced in the rearview mirror, I saw a shape. Tall, thin, standing just at the tree line. I blinked, and it was gone. I told myself it was a trick of the light. I told myself that, but then night fell. We had been driving for an hour when we saw headlights ahead. A gas station, middle of nowhere. It looked old, abandoned, but the lights were on and we were running low on fuel. The second we stepped out of the car, I felt it. Something was wrong. The air smelled of like meat left out too long. And then we heard the scream. Not an animal or a person, something in between. It came from the woods beside the station. Matt reached for the tire iron in the trunk. Joel pulled out the hunting knife he always kept on him. "Did you hear that?" Joel whispered. I nodded. My mouth was dry. Then we saw it. The thing in the trees. Tall as hell. Gaunt. Like a corpse stretched too thin. Its skin was pale, almost grey. Its head was wrong, too long with sunken eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. And its mouth was too white, with teeth like needles. It was pacing at the edge of the light, moving weird, almost jerky, like it didn't belong in its own skin. I took a step back. "Guys," I said barely above a whisper, "we need to..." And then it moved. 1 second it was at the trees, the next it was gone. Then Matt screamed. We turned, and he was gone too. Dragged into the dark. Joel ran. I ran. We didn't even think, we just ran. I could hear something behind us. Not footsteps, more like scraping, like claws against bark. We reached the car, but Joel froze. "Matt!" I grabbed him. "We can't. It will get us too." He fought me for half a second, then we heard it. A wet crunch. A sound I'll never forget. Joel's face went pale. He got in the car. I got in the car. I floored it. We didn't stop, didn't even speak, just drove until we hit a motel with bright lights and people. We told the cops. Matt wandered off drunk. They searched, never found him. I know why. I know what took him. Later, I tried to make sense of it. Looked online, read stories. That's when I found the name. Wendigo. I'd never heard of it before, never wanted to, but now I know. It's real. And it's still out there. Still hungry. Still watching. I've been a cop for 8 years. Seen some messed up stuff. People at their worst. I thought I knew fear. Thought I understood the dark corners of the world. Turns out I didn't know a damn thing. This happened last summer. My little brother Mike had just finished his last year of college. So we planned a trip. Me, him, and 2 cousins. Eli and Connor. A guy's road trip. Just like we used to do as kids. I figured it'd be good for us. We were driving through Arizona, and yeah, before you ask, I know summer in Arizona is supposed to be hot as hell, but this year was different. Some freak cold front had come down from the Rockies, and we hit snow in the middle of July. Snow in the desert. Didn't feel right. Everything about that day didn't feel right. We were miles from anywhere when we saw the gas station. One of those old single pump places, the kind that looks like it hasn't been updated since the 70s. The sign just said gas in the faded red letters. We pulled in, mostly because Eli needed to take a leak, and I figured we might as well top of the tank. The second I stepped out of the car, I felt it, this heavy, pressing silence like the air itself was listening. Connor noticed it too. "Man, this place is giving me some bad vibes." Mike laughed. "You watch too many horror movies." Maybe he was right. Maybe I was just being paranoid, but I couldn't shake it. That feeling of being watched. And then I saw it. At the tree line just beyond the station's flickering lights, something was sitting behind the tree. Not standing, but sitting. Like it was waiting. I squinted, trying to make sense of the shape. It looked wrong. Too big to be a person, too still to be an animal. The snow on the ground made it hard to see details, but I could just make out its eyes, glowing, reflecting the dim light like an animal's. I told myself it was a trick of the light. I told myself that. But I kept my hand near my hip, near my off-duty piece, just in case. "Hey, hurry up," I called to Eli. "We should keep moving." He grumbled, but finished up quick. When we got back in the car, I looked back. The thing was gone. The tree was empty. And I swear to God, the snow around it looked disturbed, like something had been there. I should have left right then, should have trusted my gut. But we didn't. And we paid for it. The road after the station was dark, barely maintained. Snow fell in thick, slow waves, covering the asphalt. I drove carefully, but my nerves were shot. Connor noticed. "You good, man?" I hesitated. I don't know, just got a bad feeling about that place. Mike rolled his eyes. "Dude, it was just some creepy old gas station." Eli, though, nodded. I felt it too, like we weren't supposed to be there. That's when I saw it, the shape, moving through the trees beside the road, keeping pace with the car. I didn't say anything at first, just gripped the wheel tighter, tried to convince myself it was a trick of the snow, a shadow playing tricks on my eyes. Then it got closer. I could see it through the trees, this tall hunched figure moving too fast for something on two legs. It weaved between the trunks, barely making a sound. I hit the gas. "Hey, what the hell?" Mike started, but then he saw it too. His face drained of color. "What the F is that?" Eli turned, saw it, and cursed under his breath. "Connor?" He just froze. None of us had ever seen anything like it. Then it moved again, closer, and for the first time I saw it clearly. It was huge, 7, maybe 8 feet tall, covered in black matted fur. Its head was canine, like a wolf, but stretched too far, jaws too long, teeth too sharp. Its eyes glowed this sickly yellow, looked onto us like a predator sizing up prey. And the worst part, it was grinning, like it knew, like it was enjoying this. I floored the gas. The tires screeched on the icy road and the car fishtailed before catching traction. I heard something thump against the side. Close? And I swerved. For a split second, the headlights caught it full on. It was running on all fours now, but it wasn't moving like an animal. It was too controlled, too deliberate. Then it was gone. I kept driving, didn't stop, didn't slow down, didn't breathe until we hit a main road with streetlights and other cars. Only then did I pull over. Nobody spoke and nobody moved. Finally, Connor whispered, "What the hell was that?" I didn't have an answer. We never told anyone. Who'd believe us? 4 guys see a werewolf in Arizona? Sounds like a bad joke. But I know what I saw. And if you're ever driving through the desert in the middle of a snowstorm and you get this feeling like something's watching, just keep driving and don't look back.